All right, and we are live. We are back at it again on the Full Funnel Society weekly stream. Every week, we are doing it with a different topic each and every week. And I'm going to share my screen right here because if you don't know what the Full Funnel Society is, well, you should. It's a school community, a LinkedIn community, and a YouTube community where you're able to come inside of here in our school. And I know you're looking at this, you're probably like, what is, there's not enough people in here. We just launched it, folks. And you're coming in here with all of our partners that are going to be listed over here to affect you in the full entire funnel. So when we talk about that, we're talking about from product iteration, from design, which we're going to talk about today, PPC, AMC, DSP, email marketing, social influencing, SEO and copy, vendor central issues, logistics. I mean, the list goes on. And we're cherry picking and curating with our partners. So they're the only partner in there. So you're not getting pitch slapped and spammed with all these WhatsApp groups and all these kind of Facebook communities, which I don't even know if anyone does those anymore, but they're so pitchy, and you have a problem and you don't get a solution to the problem. You don't get an answer. All you get is a bunch of links and schedule intro calls and upsell the service when you just want an answer. So that's what we're building out with Full Funnel Society. And I'm going to make sure we have the link below for you guys to join because we're going, we're getting up and going here in Q4 of 2025, but 2026, it's balls to the wall, folks, and we are going at it hard. And with that, we have our good friend and our partner when it comes to design and creative in Full Funnel Society. Try and say that 4 times fast. Full Funnel Society is Kamal from AMZ One Step. Kamal, thanks for hopping on, pal.
Thank you so much, John, for having me here. Super excited to talk about our topic today, AI, and I'm also very excited to be part of Full Funnel Society. I think it's a great initiative. Been part of like many societies, and there's a hype in the beginning, but over time it just dies down. I think this is something different. There's super excited. I looking at the other partners out there. There's going to be like a lot of knowledge being shared. I'm excited for today's session as well.
Yeah, it's the full funnel, right? And it's in its name, as we're affecting it from top to bottom. And we really want to give people those, an old boss and mentor of mine. I'm not going to say his name because it's super polarizing. It's going to turn people off. But screw it, I'll say it. Stephen Pope with My Amazon Guy always said, lead with value and education first. Because if you give so much free information and free value, people are going to be like, this is amazing. And they're going to keep on following you. They might not be your ICP or your customer today, but when they need you, they're going to be like, this guy gave me, or gal, gave me so much good advice and strategy for free. I can't even imagine how good their paid stuff is, right? It's very Alex Hormozy thinking. It's just value first. And a lot of places and orgs don't understand that because they think, oh, I want to keep it secret. I want people to pay for all this kind of stuff. And, then they struggle with leads and sales and clients because you can't keep everything. Anyway, all that kind of stuff aside, we're talking about generative AI. AI is the hot topic right now. And by the way, every little partner, every big partner, what they're talking about is going to be looped back to AI, right? So even if it's logistics, even if it's SEO, because AI is on the top of everyone's head. I mean, even my wife, who's a stay-at-home mom, uses ChatGPT. Like it's here and it's going to be used, and you have to adopt. And there's so many ways that you can be using it, from the basic stuff like how to cook chicken soup, all the way through how to run an MCP server to connect to with my Seller Central account to streamline my own. Like you can get really detailed. But today we're talking about images. Now I know Kamal has some cool stuff he wants to talk about, and I got some cool stuff I want to talk about. So come on, I'm going to let you go first because you're the guest and partner this week. So I know that everyone talks about ChatGPT generating images and then Gemini creating images. And the fact that, like, I'm a huge fan of Gemini. Why? Is because speed of iteration. Because to me, there's nothing in the time it takes one image to generate on ChatGPT. I'm able to do like 4 different iterations in Gemini. Now, a lot of people will say, well, the quality in ChatGPT is better. And, Gemini has a watermark, ChatGPT doesn't, right? What people don't understand is even without a watermark, digitally, they're all watermarked, right? So if someone really wants to know, you'll see this if you post something on LinkedIn and it's clearly from ChatGPT, there's no watermark, but you'll get hit with a credentials thing that says it was AI generated. So I know you have some really cool data and some cool stuff to talk about when it comes to the different models and iterating between the images between ChatGPT and Gemini.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you're talking about AI, that how fast this is growing. My mom, she's, like 55 years old, and she does not have any social media account. She's like, literally, she does not know anything about the tech. But you know what she knows? She can talk to Chat GPT in a voice mode in Indian language, in Punjabi language, and she's using AI that way, and she has zero background of anything technical. So I know that the AI, it could be overwhelming. You're probably hearing that for past 6 months, but guys, this is the future, right? So to coming back to your question, so we have tested a lot of image generation models, Seedream 4.0, Nano Banana by Gemini, Image One by Chat GPT, OpenAI. So if you're only using one model, you're missing out. And there are some models which are really good for for example, if you're creating lifestyle images for your listing, Gemini by far is the winner, right? If you're creating infographics, if you're only creating through Gemini, it's probably not the best approach. You need to get some ideas maybe from OpenAI to see what that is doing. Maybe I'll share my screen and dive deeper into it. And same thing
Yes.
for the main images, right? So if you want to create main images, maybe let's just start with I'm just going to share my entire screen.
A big fan of when people share their entire screen. Ali at Trellis, if you're watching, Ali, we're calling you out, is a big fan of sharing tabs. And for me, I can't share a tab because I'm back and forth between too many programs to share a tab. I got to share my screen. So I'm always a big fan of sharing screen. Okay, cool. So let's go through this.
So let's maybe talk about the main images first. Okay, so I tested this, both images, and I've done it like over and over again, and it's the exact same result. So what Gemini, so the image on the left is done by Gemini. The product looks really accurate. The product shape was not changed at all. But if you look at the other image, ChatGPT has been trained on different data points. Gemini has been trained on different data points. So ChatGPT knows overall how Amazon CTR looks like. What should a good main image looks like? So you see, it rendered the product. The lighting looks so much better. In Gemini, it just took the raw picture and just create the images. Over here, if you see, like, the product looks a lot bigger, the angle is a lot better, the exactly what you want to do in the main images. It retouched the product, the lighting was better. Over here at Gemini, it did the job, the product looked more accurate, but the angle was not exactly what we were looking for. It did not retouch the product, the lighting was dull. So what I'm looking for, I'm using probably both models, and I'm telling my designer to take inspiration from ChatGPT and implement that to Gemini. So in this case, if we're using both models for your main images, I gotta give it to ChatGPT. I think that is a lot better.
Really interesting.
Yeah,
because for me, looking at this, and I'm curious, I want you to share more if you can, what your prompt process looks like inside of that, right? Because for me, I see the good elements in both of those, and it's bringing them together. So if you're getting a better visual and lighting of the actual bottle in GPT, but you're not getting the flavor elements like you are getting in Gemini, like bringing those two together, because one of the biggest problems I found with ChatGPT with generating images was the nonsense text, that it would constantly, no matter what, always give high level, like the H1 text, accurate, but then as it got smaller, it would just put like alien gibberish, which Gemini I found doesn't do that.
That is true. So what we have been doing, I have been testing with the exact same prompt, both models. So yeah, you may have to adjust your prompts, depending on which model are you using. So the entire testing process has been done using this exact same prompt, without you having to, optimize prompts for certain LLM model. And what how I do that is using the listing optimization AI tool, which can generate images from the same prompt using different models. So this is what I've seen overall. It's better. Only the product shape is better in in Gemini, it doesn't change that. Everything else, there's a lot of really good ideas. The splash that you see over here, the gummy, right? The tag, like high potency, like lighting, like everything just looks a lot better. Other than the product shape, if I zoom in, the product shape has changed a little bit. So that's the main images part. And maybe let's go to the lifestyle images. So this is where Gemini just wins with the big margin. So if you look here, so this is Nano Banana. The pictures, they look so much realistic, but if you look at the Gemini, like over here, the sunlight, the water droplets, the hair, the product, like, product placement, there's some water droplets on the product itself, the smile, the eyes are open, everything is just perfect about Gemini. Over here with ChatGPT, you see like it looks a little bit more like a rubbery, right?
The skin is always too smooth and too perfect, is what I found.
Exactly. And then you have to like manually give instructions, even though if you give manual instructions to ChatGPT to be like, hey, you know what, add some bodies, like for example, for me, like this is the hack we used to do, like, hey, add some hair, man hair on the body, or maybe add some sweat, if the person is on the beach. There are a few hacks, but Gemini just knows it. You don't have to give those specific instructions. But yeah, so with the lifestyle images, even with the product being photoshopped or the product being placed on the on the body, like Gemini just gets it. There's no comparison when it comes to the lifestyle images. And here's another example. Anything, for example, this is a product, it's a swimwear, right? So ChatGPT has a lot more strict policies. For example, if you're showing somebody with let's say you're showing a full body, it's a swimwear, ChatGPT would restrict that, like, hey, it's against our policies. So
which is really weird, because you're not looking to do anything adult or X-rated, but it's just so I think, this is just my opinion, that because of recent lawsuits with ChatGPT, even more so lately, that they're getting a little bit stricter. And then a lot of people will say, oh, why not Grok? Grok you could do everything with, right? The problem with Grok that I found is, and I think ChatGPT is getting better with this, is reference images. So what I found early on with Gemini was that if I said, here's the box of cereal, it wouldn't change anything about the box. With ChatGPT, it would change it. It would make it weird. And Grok is known for like not being the best with reference images.
No, that is true. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And maybe okay, so here's another example of lifestyle images. So this is by Gemini, and look at the feedback. Everybody is just saying good things about Gemini. They look like so real images. So when it comes to infographics, I don't have like example like right in front of me, but when it comes to infographics, ChatGPT has like a lot more context, the data points, for example, the icons, the badges, the background, the layering system, everything is just, you can take so many good inspiration from ChatGPT images. And the only downside is that the product shape may be changed a little bit. With Gemini, it's really good at keeping the product shape same. It's a lot faster, but if you can just use the mixture of both, that's where the magic happens. So,
and when you say mixture of both, right? I want people to better understand that. So is that like generating both versions in both tools and then bringing them together in like a Photoshop or a Canva to make the final result? Like what's your team's process, right? Like if you found something good in both, how would the regular person go out there and take the AI output and then put it together, right? Like, is your team more, here, let me put this on screen.
Yeah. So you can probably, okay, so I'm using this tool. This is the tool that we use, Listing Optimization AI. So for example, we can generate images using GPT and Gemini. So in this case, this is a Gemini logo, this is a GPT image, right? So if you look at, you can compare those images like side by side. For example, let's just take this as an example. If you look at the font number, let's start with the fonts. It is doing the font pairing. So you will see two different fonts being used, right? Like for example, you may like fonts from over here, but you really liked the visual reference from this one. So what you can do, you can combine these. If you're generating using both models, you can see what stands out, and you can just use that. For example, this image. Okay, so this is a Gemini image, all right, and this is ChatGPT image. So the sizing of the infographic, the readability of the text is a lot better on ChatGPT as opposed to this one.
Yeah.
Here, there's a lot of like white space. Your
Also,
10%.
there's another bar that doesn't mean anything. That third bar over there, it's supposed to be the brand, the competitors, and there's nothing for that. And what I found with both models, right, is that if you say, okay, remove that third last one, it's not relevant, it'll say, okay, no problem, and then give you the same image. So what I tell people a lot with Gemini is once you get something really good, but has a little tweak, save it, open up a new chat, bring that image in, and then make the tweak. Because often you'll find, at least with Gemini that I found, is that when you're having an ongoing conversation, eventually it'll hit like its brain limit and it will just keep on saying, okay, no problem, here it is, and give you the same stuff. Do you notice that too?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do notice that. So
yeah,
Gemini can, yeah, it can go well. So here's an example. So you can see like, so for example, if I'm looking for mobile optimization, this is more readable for me, the ChatGPT image, like, even on the desktop, like, and it's hard for me to read this. So the infographic game, you just gotta maybe overall, everything else is better. Like if I were to create the final image, I would use this background, which is generated by the Gemini, the shadow, everything is good, product is good. But when it comes to the infographic ideas, I would probably use this font, this size, and these icons. But just
so here's, you brought this example up, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Both models screwed up, right? Both models did typos just now. So if you look at the ChatGPT model, it says beauty meets responsibility, exactly. Right? And then if you look at the Gemini one, it says beauty meets responsibility. It got that, right? But then if you look at everything else is good, but go down to the sourced, it says constitution. Like, I don't know. That looks like a typo, that C word, right? So it's so interesting that even like with your team, if you guys got to this point, right, like you can't at this stage, at this phase in the iteration process, right? Let's say you were like the ChatGPT one. We want to do this one. The ChatGPT one is great. How would your team then fix that?
Okay, so there's multiple ways. One, first thing I would do, I would generate more. Maybe in the second process, everything is going to be better. So I'm going to maybe click on 3 more. I'm going to click generate to see if something better pops up, right? Or the other option is you can leave a comment. For example, you can just leave a comment.
I think one of the models made, I'm not sure if it's ChatGPT or Gemini. It might be ChatGPT, that you can now doodle or draw. Have you seen that on the image to specifically change one element of it?
I've seen that canvas model on ChatGPT. Yes.
Yeah.
It works well. You can use that feature like spot editing, but again, it's not perfect just yet. So
yeah. So like those 3 new iterations from the Gemini model, right? If you click on those, right, like they look good, but like this looks pretty good, right? Like that, I have no issues with that one. But if you go to the next one, it screwed up the label.
Yeah, I don't know if it's trying to if it intentionally did that, but it doesn't make sense. Why would you screw the product?
Yeah. So I think for me, right, like if someone's using, this is your tool, right? So if someone's using this and they're like I like this one, I think this is a solid, that last one. I like that dichotomy between 2 different backgrounds, usually like rain or sunny, cold or warm. Like I like those kind of things. But at that point, what do you recommend? Like, I'm a big Canva guy, right? So for me, like, does your team then say, okay, good, let's export this, bring it into Photoshop, bring it into Canva, and then fine tune it? Because I think a lot of folks think that the AI output is just ready to rock and roll. And as good as it is, you're getting, in my opinion, like 80 to 85% of the way there, but you still have to do the work. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So this is exactly what AI is capable of, right now. It can get you there like 80%, 90% there, occasionally 100%, but there needs to be a human or expert who looks at this image. For example, hey, I look at this image, what do I want to change? Maybe I need to change the text. So, you're going to have to maybe fix the prompt. For example, come over here, change the headline to something else if it doesn't make sense for you. Change the sub headline, click on save, regenerate. You can regenerate using, this feature. So human would have to spend time, maybe import it to Canva, maybe like leave comments like this, like, for example, let's take this example, fix the product. So human needs to do the work to make the final touches. It gets you 80% there, but the 20% is still done by human as of yet. Who knows in the future? But right now, I think it's still a blessing that AI is at that point where
100%.
you don't have to do all of that. And the iteration process, for example, lifestyle images, if you're generating using Gemini, uh, you're good. I mean, you don't have to do
Fantastic. Yeah.
like
The interesting thing is that your tool that we're looking at right now, it doesn't have the watermark, right? So that's another step that it brings out, because you're connected directly with the API in the back, so you're not having the watermark, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So
Yeah.
there's like lifestyle images, they're like almost like good to go. This is an example I shared on LinkedIn, made it quickly. But yeah, so to your coming to your point, I think the AI is just a tool. The humans who can leverage this tool better, they are the ones who are gonna win. So there's a good in Gemini, there's a good in ChatGPT. You just gotta find out like what's working
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah, I think that's like super important, because another cool thing while we're on this live stream, I think now that I'm looking more at your tool as you're showing it and demoing it, I think it would be great is if you had an output button, like an export to Canva, export to Photoshop, so that this way someone can then take they're like, okay, I'm 80% of the way there. Let me bring this over to where I do business,
I had a chat with my CTO, last week. I was like, hey, we need to figure out, Canva integration. He's like, sounds good, we can do it. He asked me like a few questions, like why, the why behind adding those Canva, right?
Yeah.
So it is in the priority list, but it's slightly in the middle priority, because right now our goal is, how can we make better prompts in the first go? How can we make better visual concepts? But once we solve those problems, the Canva integration is coming. That is the obvious next step.
Yeah, I think it helps. Oh, we have some questions in here. Sorry. Sabor says, Kamal, can you share the prompt making process for generating this type of image? So yeah, that's it. Let me take my screen, because I want to hop into that. But yeah, so I think I asked you earlier, like you have your tool, right? But then what is in your tool? Is it like warmed up with like, this is the headline? Because I think you showed that this is the headline, this is this. Like, is that already in there and you just have to plug it in? And if they're not using the tool, right, what is your typical go-to way that you prompt for those kind of images?
Okay, so so I'll tell you like how the tool is generating those images and prompts, and then I'll tell you if you're not using the tool, how can you use it. So
Sure.
right now, the step number one is you create the market intelligence. You would give us the ASIN, we would find the competitors, we would read all those reviews, we would look at pain points, key purchasing factors. We will build a customer avatar for you, and like lots of other information. So using that intelligence, the AI is going to create those visual concepts for us. Hey, I think you should be doing these kind of images. And the second layer is, okay, how can you visually make it look the best way possible? So that second layer adds a visual concept. Then we add a branding layer, like, okay, what is the ideal branding? Then there's what should be the headline and subhead. So there's like multiple layers of prompts, which gives you the final output in our tool. But one of the things that you can also use if you're using it yourself, I called it the image framework. So whenever you're prompting something, use the image framework. IMAGE. I stands for intent. What exactly are you creating? For example, create me an Amazon infographic image optimized for high CVR. That is your intent. M is the main subject. What exactly do you want to show in the image? Is it uh, um, is it a lifestyle setup, product in the kitchen, or if it's somebody using this product, describe that in the prompt. That is the M. A is aesthetics. What do you want that image to look and feel like? The lighting part, right? What should be the colors? What should be the icons? Overall aesthetics. Then IMAG. Okay, so G stands for guidelines. Be very specific. 2000 by 2000 pixels. Okay, I want this to be in JPEG format. Whatever whatever maybe write this copy, write this headline, write this subheadline. That's your very specific guideline. And then E stands for emphasis. What is that one thing that you want to stand out after looking at image? That is the emphasis. This is a image framework. If if you use our tool, it's built into that. If you use ChatGPT or Gemini, just use this framework image, and your prompt would be like really, really solid, and you will get exactly what you're looking for.
It's great. I mean, you have to. My whole thing is garbage in, garbage out when it comes to AI, right? So if you we're looking at some Shutterstock images because I want to show you something in a second that I'm kind of tinkering with, but you can't just say put an image of a man sitting on a laptop working on a desk, right? It's going to just go with whatever it wants. It doesn't have the context. It doesn't have what you're using it for, the lighting. So one thing, Kamal, that I'm, playing with, right? So I grabbed this image right here of this guy sitting at a computer. And one thing I'm really focused on is JSON code. So JSON code is used for a lot of things. A lot of people are doing it for like N8N or automations and stuff. But really what it is, right? You can give in a lot of these models the context. You can give references, right? But what happens is when the different models will interpret things differently, right? So what I do is I'll go into ChatGPT and Gemini. I'll do the same thing, right, in both of them. And then I'll say, please give me the detailed JSON code that describes this image in detail, right? And I'll take the same one over here and I'll put the same one over here, right? Because what I want to do is I want to get the AI language, right? Or the tech language of what it's doing. So right away, Gemini is not doing the right thing because I asked for JSON code. So sometimes it can, sometimes it can't. But you see here, ChatGPT did a good job at giving me the code, right? So kind of in line with the image formatting and layout for the prompts that you're talking about. This is how the AI understands what it's looking at, right? So style, corporate, offers, portrait. Scene, what is it? And here are the subjects. Now, what subject type is this? This is a person. This is an object, right? So it's saying a middle-aged man with short gray hair, beard, position. He's positioned in the center. So you can see when you have the JSON code, it's actually telling you the structure of this image, right? So laptop, silver gray laptop open in front of the man, foreground left. So it's to the left in the foreground. Yeah. So when you have, and even down here, photorealistic, high resolution, professional and warm, camera angle. So when you find an image that you like, right, you now have the bones or the structure of it to replicate it, right? So now I can go over here and I can say, create an image using the below JSON code, right? And I'm going to do the same thing in ChatGPT with a new window. You don't have to do these create images and select them, but I always do so, just whatever. So I'm going to run this and I'm going to run this, right? Now, remember, this was our source image that we built the structure with the JSON code off of, right? I'll click on it so it's bigger. It's this guy right here. Now, when I go to Gemini, right, it's crazy. It's crazy how close it got. It's not the exact guy, and that's not what we're going for here. We're not going for replicating the exact same person, right? But now I have the bones in here, the structure, where I can change anything. So now what I'm able to do is then if I wanted to change it to, medium shot focusing on upper body, I can granularly change the framing to wide shot focusing on upper body or a narrow shot focusing on upper body. Now you have more control over it. But you can see when you click on this, it's very, very, very similar. And I never gave it a visual to take a look at and see. I only gave it the code, right? So when you look at it, laptop, there's a cell phone on the table, laptop, cell phone on the table, teal suit, striped gray tie, Same thing, glasses. Sure, some things are a little bit different. The guy looks visually different, but everything else is pretty much spot on. Now, if I go over to the ChatGPT version, you could see it just looks fake, right? But you could see that wasn't the intent. I wasn't going to say which model is better than the other, but even still, right, without visually seeing the image and just giving it the JSON code, it was able to do this, and it got it pretty much the same vibe and feel. But you can see Gemini does it better because his eyes are looking over here, his hands over here, his hands over here, but his eyes are down here. See, it switched the hands, but this does not look real, in my opinion, at all. So that's why I like that, because then, and we're talking about from a code stance. So now with a code, you can build out your framework where if you wanted to say everything the same, so furniture, white desk, wood cabinet, glass walls, you have that framework in there. So nothing is ever going to change. So if you ever want to do something that's different, right? So now I could take this, which is that JSON code from the original image, right? Open up a new one, go over here, do this. And then let's say I want to change his furniture from a white desk to a black desk, and a gray chair to a red chair. And, for anything else, let's say not for books, laptop, we want to say maybe it's a blue laptop and foreground on the right? So you could change these little things contextually without ever because sometimes you might not have the perfect image to give it, but I like the structure of this one. Now you have the structure and you can change it granularly and control it, right? So now you could see, like I said, blue laptop, it's blue laptop, right? One thing it didn't change, but if you notice over here, it didn't change the desk or anything else like that. So it's not perfect, right? But now this is where the tool gets like really powerful. We're talking about all that from the granular sense. But if and here's where the models fall flat for me. If I give it the visual context over here, and I'll enable create image, I'll enable create image on this one, right? And I'll say, change the man's suit to be red, right? And I'll do the same prompt to Gemini. This is where the difference happens, right? If you already have the context visually, you already know this is exactly what I want. I need just this minor change. This is where Gemini blows the doors off of ChatGPT, right? Because visually, exact same image. Not a thing has been changed, right? Nope, not a thing has been changed. You can look right here. Everything else is exactly the same. There's a watermark there, but that's easy. But his suit is now red. And if I go to, I'm sorry, that was Gemini. If I go to ChatGPT, it's taking too long. It's taking too long for me, right? It's taking too long to iterate on this. And yeah, like, come on, your tool in the API, possibly the API is a little faster when it comes to this kind of stuff when iterating. But for the average person coming down doing this, in the time it's going to take to do this, and I could say, no, instead make his suit purple. Right? I can iterate faster and faster with this kind of stuff. In the time it's going to take me, I still want the suit in red, and I've already got the suit in red. And in 2 seconds, it's like, okay, I got the suit in purple, right? So for brands that are selling things, I've seen a lot of people that I talk to where they're like apparel, textiles, like they have the perfect image. They just need it for the 20 other different color variations. And it's too slow to do this in ChatGPT. At scale, you're able to do this in Gemini without any changes, which is fantastic. You know what I mean?
I think you've nailed it with especially when you talked about the variations part. This is exactly where this JSON prompting is super helpful. Let's say you have 20 different variations. Just create a JSON code. Just just only change the one word. Okay, red, black, blue, and
you just rock and roll. And look at this. This reminds me of like, when I was a kid and like 1998 AOL downloading one image and I get a line at a time. Like I don't have no brand owner, no seller, no anyone that's doing anything, already I can see the top of his head is changed a little bit. Like his hair looks a little too perfect already, right out of the gate, right? So, for me, okay, it says image created, right? And I will say it's okay, but it did change certain things. So look at this over here. See the plants in the background? That's not the same as this, right? It did change the image, right? Is it good? Yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not as good as this, and that took me 15 seconds, right? And if you look at the difference between the two, someone might say, well, yeah, the ChatGPT one looks cleaner, it's nicer. That doesn't always mean it's going to perform. Look at his hands. His hands look real. It has, you know, you know, age marks. It looks like a real person's hand. This looks too clean, too perfect of a hand. This is how you spot, you can clock someone that's doing AI. You know what I mean?
That is absolutely true, and this is another reason why, even if you find something great from ChatGPT, convert that into JSON code, and now you can go back to Gemini and just and just keep iterating there faster. So
Yeah. I
another
found that like the lifestyle images, and I know you said it, I know you've shown it. I'm just I'm so gun shy with doing any sort of text in AI because I know that you're going to have to manipulate it anyway. So my whole thing is I'd rather just bring it over here and say, okay, cool. Like for me, let's bring it into like a whiteboard and just put this here. Like I don't have to worry about, and that's another thing people talk about is like, yeah, this isn't the proper aspect ratio, but all I have to do is boop, the watermark's gone, right? And then I'm filling in whatever I need. But I'm a big fan of using Canva for infographics for this simple reason. And I'll show you this really quickly. I talk to folks about this all the time. I like these kind of block styles of doing things, right? So like, if you're doing like a call out over here for H1, you're talking about blah, 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 and then you're going to have subtext over here, right? I'm a fan of taking this and doing it in a different depth perspective, right? So for me, I like to go over here and I like to say, I want to do magic grab, right? This is why I love Canva, right? Because I want to just grab the dude, right? I don't want to grab anything else in the frame. I want to grab him, and instantly you'll see, right? Now this is able to go behind him, right? So before you'd be limited to putting any sort of call out or on brand thing in the front of him. Or if you bring it into Photoshop, yes, you could do that kind of stuff. But look at the speed that I'm able to do this, right? And then, yeah, maybe it's a little too dark, right? I can fade this out. I can have it stop directly at his head over here. I can do it like this. So now I have something that looks the foundations of a good infographic, because then I can put whatever text I want over here, whatever call outs I want, right? So for like, round icons. And I think it's important for people to use templates, right? And a lot of people will hear templates and they'll think, oh no, templates are bad. No. So when you know that you want to use this icon for talking about, whatever it is, right? Have that built out where that's always going to be there. So you have that on brand template. And then if you're talking about, like, see right here, all these, right? So if you're constantly talking about a certain element or a certain thing, you want to have that at the ready so everything stays on brand. Because if I was going to do this, for example, in AI, it would take too long. It would take too long for me to say, I want a half rounded arrow like this. I want a plus sign like this. And then I want, I don't know, like another one like this, right? So for me to do that in AI, it takes too long. But for me to do this in AI and then bring it into Canva and then polish it up at the speed of light, you're able to do that.
And John, I think I shared a video on LinkedIn. You probably saw that 3 or 4 years ago. That video is like, I think 4 years old, maybe 3 years old. We created the 7 module A plus content using Canva. That was when AI was not even a thing. So
Yeah.
Canva is like an amazing, it's like superpower. And AI is also a tool. It won't really like do the magic for you. It's just in a tool. The people who understand like how to use that tool better, they are the ones who are going to win. So you're exactly right. It's faster than AI. I absolutely agree.
And I think when you have that template built out, right, like a design house, okay, module 1 in A plus, we want this. Module 2, we want this, right? Like, okay, no one likes hearing templates. Everyone thinks templates are cheap and cheap, but it speeds the efficiency up and the process up so that your team can focus on making better the elements that are important, right? Like you don't want someone chewing up 3 to 5 hours on layout. Like it doesn't make any sense. I'd rather the content be good. But like Jeff says here, do you upload customer intent language from customer reviews to train the LLM before you request the text overlays on the image? I'm going to let you give your opinion on this in a second. But for me, I don't like training any LLM on anything. And the reason is because every time I open up an AI tool like a ChatGPT or a Claude or Gemini, there's too many different things that I'm doing with it. So if I trained an LLM specifically how to do something on a certain intent for a customer review, I don't want it to remember that when I'm working on a different customer, working on a different product, right? There's ways you can build out different, ChatGPT has projects or custom GPT. I'm not a fan of any of that kind of stuff because that's time you have to take to build it out. I'm a fan of just if you're going down that route, right? I think in my opinion, your team, Jeff, has to do the due diligence ahead of time to run separately in the AI. Like, I think we're asking two different questions. I think it's better to have a custom prompt that's going to give the sentiment or the intent based on the reviews and then filter those out. So then you have that low hanging fruit to then bring over to the design. But Kamal, you could chime in on your opinion on that.
Yeah. So we don't really don't specifically, upload the customer intent language, but what we do is we do analyze like reviews, we do build out customer avatars, we do build out like the pain points, key purchasing factors, and we in our prompt it is very it specifically says that any concept or the copywriting that you're going to do for us has to resonate with the customer avatars and the market intelligence that we have uploaded. That's how we do it, which is kind of almost what you're asking for, but not exactly the language.
I think a lot of people want it to be foolproof, right? Where it's like, here's all my customer reviews, pull out the things that people like about it, people don't like about it, and then be able to build out the context for the infographics. My problem with that is, what if someone says they love something about the product, but that's not a main selling point of the product, or that's not a compelling feature of the product, right? They might say, oh my God, I love how this vacuum assembles very easily, but no one's talking about the fact that it has 10 times the suction compared to the competitor, right? So you don't always want to lean into that. It's good low-hanging fruit to kind of get a perspective on, but I think you have to know the core differences. And I talk to people all the time when they're designing their hero image and they show me examples of it and they're like, what do you think of it? I'm like, I don't know. I got to look at the SERP. I have to look at the search engine result page. They're like, oh, why? Doesn't it look good? It looks good. I don't know what the SERP looks like. The SERP, what if everything looks like this on the SERP? Then this image is no good because then it's going to get lost in the SERP. So I think a lot of people, when they design or when they're looking at how to make it better, the first place you have to look is searching the keyword or searching the product on Amazon to understand what is the landscape. So for example, if everyone is selling melatonin gummies and the whole search engine result page is purple bottles and purple gummies and purple text and purple, I'm not saying go polarizing and put everything orange and yellow because it's not going to resonate with someone that wants sleepiness. But what could you do? Could you do a different color? Could you do a different color that resonates with that? Could you show the flavor profile and no one's showing the flavor profile? You know how many times I've seen gummies that were purple that when you clicked on it, they were like, yeah, our delicious apple flavor. I had no idea that the color purple doesn't resonate with that apple flavor to me, right? So imagine running an ad on that and someone says, wow, I like that. And they finally click on it and they get to the PDP and they're like, I hate apple flavored stuff. ACOS goes up, tacos goes up, conversion goes down. So that's why you have to take a look at that, Jeff, and really just see what the SERP looks like for sure. Kamal, you got a fan over here. Sabor saying, I've been following your posts and admire how you create 10 plus variations per images for main images. I want to learn your prompt processing technique for main image creation. Your work is seriously impressive, and I'd love for you to guide me on this topic. I think that's a great segue to join Full Funnel Society, because Kamal's going to be in there teaching folks, showing you guys exactly how to do that for sure.
Oh, thank you so much, Sabur. This means a lot to me. Something positive comes up makes my day. But coming down to your question, yeah, if you want to learn, be a part of Full Funnel Society, that's where I'll be like diving deeper into a lot of those things. But just to answer that, I think if you joined midway, I explained about my image framework, how exactly I prompt. But I do have like different types of main images. The same product can be, for example, if I have Apple, I shared this example on LinkedIn as well. Like I took an apple for an example, then I created like 20 different main images using the same apple, and the prompt for each of that image is different, right? So like John shared, like the JSON code prompting hack. I think I'm going to start using that one now. So there's like multiple ways of how you prompt these, but in reality, what your vision is, how you want that image to look like, that's where the experience comes in. That's where the knowledge comes in. If you're following me on LinkedIn, just or John, look at the best main image examples, look at the best infographic examples, lifestyle A plus content. You can reverse engineer that. Another cool hack, again, the JSON code. So that's what I'm going to follow moving forward.
Yeah,
I don't really
I think 2.0 or 3.0, Kamal, you should come out with a prompt library, because it's clear that people want this kind of stuff, and I think that'd be good.
Thanks for reminding. I do have 120 prompts for every type of image possible on Amazon. It's if you're using the tool, it's already built in. You don't have to do that. If you're not using the tool, I can give you the entire, like everything in the back end, and we keep adding like more and more templates and more prompts. I'm happy to share that with all.
Only in the school. Only if you join the school. We're not giving stuff away. It's just willy-nilly. You got to go to this. Yeah. So Jeff says, good point. It becomes too jumbled when the LLM uses memory. That's one thing I found as well, is that and then with a lot of tools, like I used to love Claude. I used to love Claude like nobody else. But Claude Opus, you run 3 or 4 really intensive prompts, and you hit your rate limit on the paid plan and you're done for the whole entire day. So for me, I've really been triple downing on Gemini, because almost everyone has Google Workspace anyway. The image model is fantastic. It's quick, it's speed, but also the 2.5 Pro model, if you're doing long form writing, anything like that, it's bar none, neck and neck, toe to toe when it comes to Claude, Sonnet, and even Opus. Jeff says prompt library. Yes. Well, Jeff, you got to join the school, because we're gonna make sure we get Kamal's, pick his brain and dump his brain into the community over there. On that note, we're going to just say this again, guys. Full Funnel Society on school. I know it looks like Ghost Town City, USA right now, but trust us, we just launched and it's going to be action packed. We're getting the partners in there, and all the conversations that you've been having on these WhatsApp groups and these Facebook groups, where or even Reddit. I don't know about you, Kamal. Like, I get a lot of good stuff from Reddit, but then there's so many times you go on Reddit and it's like, it's good information, and it's like spam. That's like, but Reddit's usually good about moderating and mitigating spam. But lately it's just, not too good for me. But yeah, dude, I appreciate you hopping on. This is our 3rd one we've done. So that's what I'm saying, guys. It's new. It's only our 3rd weekly stream. But Kamal, I know that we were talking before about anyone that joins the school and is using your tool. You had a little special.
If you're part of Full Funnel Society, there's a lifetime 50% off. And the pricing is going to go up because we're breaking even. Image generation is very expensive, so it's it's 50% off if you do want to grab. But even if you even if you don't upgrade, that's you still get 50 images for free using that tool. But yeah, so I'm gonna share the code and all those prompts if you're part of the Full Funnel Society.
Cool. Jeff just requested access. Cool. Jeff, after this, after we hop off, I'm going to go dive it into school. It's back to school for me. And I'm going to get in there and make sure everyone gets approved and that kind of stuff. But Kamal, yeah, man, I appreciate you hopping on. I know it was great seeing you. Where did I see you? Innovate. We both didn't go to Unboxed, which was fun. So we were able to have this live stream while everyone's partying up in Nashville with, I think they said Luke Bryan was there and all this kind of fun stuff. So I'd rather hang out with Kamal and talk about AI images. But pal, thanks a lot for hopping on. I know that we're going to see a lot more of you on LinkedIn, in the school community, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, man, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks for having me. And great episode. It was fun chatting about AI once again. I'll see you guys inside the Full Funnel Society. If you're not there yet, just feel free to join.
If you're not there, you're going to miss out. And I'm done saying it because I'm just going to start giving all my value that we're doing, all the Trellis value for the DSP tactics and the AMC tactics. And you guys are just getting snippets of it on LinkedIn. You're going to really get the nitty gritty of it in the school. But thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, guys.